Hi, welcome to Creating Stuff and welcome back to my shop. Hi, my name is Jim. Today in the shop, I'm doing something that I did a video a year ago about fixing the oil, York compressor, air compressor conversion, excess oil and compressed air issue. And I've had a lot of views on that. I've had a lot of excellent comments on that. So I figured I'd take it one step further. And basically, I'm going to show here is the exact same compressor that I did the other video on. I did this for a friend of mine. I was giving it to him. It's been sitting on my workbench for over a year. He never came and got it, and I paid for it. I was being nice and giving it to him. He never came and got it. So anyways, now I have a use for it. So you snooze, you lose. So basically, I have an Inferno my Inferno build that I've been doing for the last year or so. That's what this is going on. And so basically, I'm just going to show you the process of doing it. Unfortunately, if you liked all my problem solving from the MG fuel injection video, this won't be that kind of video. This is just I'm showing you how I do it, because I've done this already. I did it on my other truck, so all I'm doing is copying it. I'm doing the same thing again. That would have been a good one to follow the design process of figuring out to make it work, because it took me a fair amount of time and came up with a really good solution, which you will see close hand here coming up soon. So but anyways, and if anybody's interested to do this to their own vehicle, I do have all my CAD files. I will make them available to you if you want them. Unfortunately, although this compressor is going on a 3.4 liter Toyota engine, which is found in the first generation Tacomas and third generation 4Runners, unfortunately, this mount for this compressor will not fit those vehicles. The frame rails just doesn't work. Unfortunately, the only engine my bracket will fit is a Toyota 3.4 that is swapped into an older Toyota pickup truck. So unfortunately, it will not fit a Tacoma. I was working on a design for a Tacoma, but unfortunately, I had a 4Runner. I sold it, so I don't have a vehicle anymore. I don't have a need, so I kind of stopped working on that. But anyways, but you might find this interesting. Anyways, we'll tell you what. Basically, I got a few things that have to be done to this, because I have to make a mounting bracket to mount this to the side of the engine, and then also I have to add an idler pulley to the belt system. I have to have a tensioner for this. I'm gonna go through all that, but the first stop is I gotta go over to the plasma table, because I gotta cut the brackets out to build all the pieces out to build this bracket. So let's get to work, and let's head over to the plasma table. All right, here are all the pieces I need to cut out. All these pieces are the bracket and for the tensioner for the air compressor. So I'm going to be cutting them out of 1/4-inch plate steel. Everything is set up on the table. So all I got to do is turn the air compressor on, get some compressed air, and run it. So let's get to it. Well, it looks like these parts turned out pretty good. I'm going to let them cool off a little bit. I'm going to take them out, clean them up. I'll show you how it goes together. Okay, here are all the parts I cut out. Now the one thing I do recommend, or not recommend, but unfortunately my plasma table doesn't have the level of precision as a lot of industrial manufacturing equipment. So I ended up having to do a lot of massaging, and I had to clean a few things up, get things to fit right. But if you were to send these files off to Send Cut Send, they will come back perfect. They will just fit right together, except for I forgot about, I had to make an adjustment on that piece right there. But anyways, I'll show you what we got. First and foremost, these parts are for the tensioner. We're not ready for that yet, so we're going to set those aside. And these are the pieces that actually attach the compressor to the side of the engine. And this takes the place of the factory AC compressor. You have to take the AC compressor and its bracket out, and it's going to be replaced with this. This piece gets bolted next to the onto the block. This piece right here goes onto the compressor. And the one thing I will note is basically on how you have to make sure that these edges line up, and they are, and even if there's a gap, you have to make sure they're parallel. So that is that is critical for the belt alignment. So, but this piece will go right like so on top of the air compressor, and like I said, I had to massage the holes a little bit to get everything to fit. If you get them laser cut through Send Cut Send, you won't have to do that. So anyways, then this goes on the block, goes on the compressor, and then this piece, which they're tabbed and slotted together, goes right there, and then this will tab and slot with this, and those two edges will line up. So, and then for the fourth hole, you have this little bracket right here. This is actually elevated up a little bit because this bolt hole has the motor mount bracket underneath it. So that goes on there like so. So you have 4 bolts holding it on. So that is, in essence, the bracket. The only thing is, when you're welding this together, this piece right here is so tight to the side of the compressor, you cannot weld on this side. You actually have to do all the welding on this side. You can weld down here all you want, but it's so tight up there, that just doesn't fit. And this one, when you weld this on, you can only weld the top because that's all you can get to. But that will be sufficient. So now, and then the other thing I will say is, to weld this together, is I actually have a junk 3.4 engine on an engine stand. So I'm going to bolt it. So basically I'm going to bolt this on and use that engine as a jig to hold everything, make sure everything is nice and straight. So tell you what, I think we can step over to there and we'll keep on going. All right, I'm over at my junk 3.4. This engine is no good. Basically, I'm going to use this as a jig to weld my bracket up to. So, I'm going to start with the base plate. And once again, as I said before, if you send these files to Send Cut Send, they come out perfect. And unfortunately, my plasma table is far from perfect, but I had to do a little bit of massaging to them, but not too bad. All right, base plate's on. I'm going to put then the rear gusset goes like so. All this is tabbed to go together to help you line it up. And the compressor base plate goes like so. And this seam right here, make sure that the gap is even and that this plate is flush with the end so the belt will line up. So I'm going to go ahead and throw some tacks. I'm going to tack this together and make sure the compressor fits. All right, how I said make sure that was even. When I tacked it up the first time, it wasn't even, had a belt alignment issue. But as you can see, belt alignment is no issue. Looks pretty good. And top and bottom. And also just FYI, this actually, the power steering belt that is normally used on this truck is actually used for the air compressor. We're going to have to get a longer belt for the power steering to make it all work. But that's working pretty good. I got that small tab tacked in there. I had to put a little spacer in there since I didn't have the motor mount bolt will go through. So all in all, this is actually looking pretty good. So basically what I got to do now is I need to actually test fit it on the truck just to make sure it fits on the truck, and then if it fits, and then I'm going to go ahead and weld all this up, paint it, and I can more or less install that. So anyways, so I'll tell you what, I'm not gonna bore you with me wrestling this thing under the truck. So say if it fits the truck, you will come back. I'll get you some clips of me welding this up, and I won't bore you with paint drying. So but so far it's looking good, which once again, it's a lot easier if you have a junk engine sitting on a stand. Makes this a lot easier. If you had to do all this inside the truck, it'd be a little troublesome. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do when you want it. And the biggest reason I like having these compressors is I like good volume of compressed air whenever I'm wheeling, and so I've had these forever, and I've just gotten accustomed to them. So why change? All right, let's get to it. All right, I got the bracket all welded up. Looks pretty good. It does fit on the truck. Pretty happy with that. So now I just have to let this cool, put a coat of paint on it, and then I'm gonna have to start working on the tensioner and the idler pulley. So tell you what, no point in yakking. Let me cool this off and get some paint on it. All right, these are the parts. Now keep in mind, the belt for the compressor has a tensioner, but there's also an additional idler pulley for this and the power steering as well. So one step at a time. But basically, this idler pulley right here, ignore that. These pieces right here, I cannibalized them off of the factory air conditioner bracket. Why reinvent the wheel when you don't have to? I'm gonna have to run a tap. I can't believe I actually got this out without heating it up for once. So I gotta clean these up. I gotta clean the threads up and all that. And this is the bracket I made that will attach to existing holes on the block. I will have spacers behind it to space it out appropriately. Those spacers are going to come a little bit later, but basically how this is going to work, I believe it's oriented this way. I can't remember. I'd have to look on my other truck, but basically this bolt goes right through here, bolt as so, and then this piece gets welded on down here. Then it has a gusset on either side, so this bolt will actually go through it in order to adjust it. So this is how the adjuster works. So basically what I have to do is I gotta clean all these up. I gotta clean the threads up, both of these. I gotta clean so they work correctly. I have to check my other truck to see. I can't remember which I believe is oriented this way. I can't remember, and then I gotta weld this on the end with the two gussets and paint it. So that's what I got going on for the idler pulley. Or not the idler pulley, the tensioner pulley for the air compressor. So anyways, well, enough of me yakking. Let me get back to it. Alright, here is my current progress on the mounting the air compressor on the 3.4. I got my bracket all painted. I got it all welded up. I got a good coat of paint on it. That's looking good. And the other thing, a lot I did off camera, is this is the bracket for the tensioner pulley. This pulley and its tensioner, but all that came off of the factory AC compressor bracket for the 3.4. So, and I'll show you when I go to install the bracket and the compressor, the not the serpentine belt, but the belt for the power steering pump is actually going to interfere with the clutch of this air compressor. So what I'm going to end up having to do is I'm going to have to put an idler pulley in to redirect the belt. I have a custom bracket that I'm having made. Just exact same design as I put on my other truck, and I'm actually going to have the air compressor belt and the power steering belt are both going to ride on this pulley. And when I install this, I'm going to point out that the belts are going to be on the opposite sides of the pulley. And to be honest with you, I've never seen this done on any production vehicle. But I hate to say, in some aspects of it, it doesn't look right because it's not done on a full-blown on a production vehicle, but it works. The compressor setup on my other Toyota truck, that's been up and running for between 10 months to a year now, and I have zero issues with it. So like I said, although it might not look right or however you want to look at it, but it does work. And this pulley is actually the the idler pulley for a timing belt on a 3.4. Hold on, let me just go show you where it came from. It came from right here. Well, not this particular pulley, came off another engine. The one on my other truck came off of this junk engine. But right here, that's the pulley I need. And almost more importantly, just as important as a pulley, is I need the bolt that holds it, because it actually has a small shoulder in it that, well, hard to do this one-handed, but that shoulder actually fits and keeps that pulley centered in there. So you need the bolt and the pulley off of the center idler pulley off of the 3/4. So, anyways, so, but I gotta wait for those other parts to come in order to mount that. So, tell you what, it's gonna probably be a fraction of a second for you, but it's gonna. I still got about another week before this part comes in, and when it comes in, I'm gonna have to cut some threads in it, and then I'm gonna start putting all the stuff on the truck and show you how it fits. So, tell you what, I'll bring you back when I have the custom part for that. So, see you in a second. All right, I got a box in with the parts for the idler, the mounts for the idler pulley. So let me get this open and take a look. Wow, that's some expensive packing foam. All right, here is one spacer I need. Looks great. Here's another spacer. And the third spacer I need. Excellent. Now, let's see what's in this one. All right. This looks absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So this is great. I do have to cut some threads in here because this piece is meant to hold this pulley, and just take the bolt, and so I just have to cut some threads in there to take this bolt, and I will have to cut a couple of threads off it. So after I cut threads, mount it, I'll mark it, and I'll cut this bolt. So but you know what? Tell you what, let me cut some threads in this, and I'm going to show you how this gets mounted up. Let me get back to it. Alright, I've already showed you, saw me unpack the bracket for the idler pulley. Now I get ready to mock everything up on the junk engine I got before I put it on the truck. Now the next, I have already cut the threads inside that hole right there. These just have regular 3 bolts. And now this is the nut, the bolt that is meant for that idler pulley. Now I got one more thing got to do, which I'll show you here in a second. So basically I got to cut this bolt off because this is actually going to sit flat against something, so those threads have to go away. So now I'm going to show you a little trick to do this. Is I'm just putting a few I'm just putting some Sharpie marks on it, but I got to take 4 threads off, but put a Sharpie mark on there. Now I'm going to take this back apart. I'm going to go over to the other workbench, and I'll show you how I'm going to do it. All right, my trick for cutting a couple threads off of these, which bolts can be hard to hold, and you have to worry about cleaning the threads up. Some people will just put them in a vise. What I found out is just take a piece of 1/4-inch flat bar, or just whatever, it works. Here I've done it many times before, and basically drill a hole, thread it, stick the bolt through, and then just cut it off with a grinder. So I drilled and tapped the appropriate hole on this side, so this will actually hold the bolt very securely while I cut the threads off. You clamp your flat bar into your vise, and then just take a grinder and cut the excess off. So it's nice because that big surface area, it's easy to grind it nice and flat. And then when you take the bolt out, it cleans the ends of the threads up very nicely. There you go. That looks nice. It's nice and flat, and flat, clean, and the threads are straight. So let's go put this in the bracket. Alright, now I'm going to install the bolt pulley into the bracket, and I should not have to take this pulley back off of this bracket again. There you have it. Well, now that I got this all set up, I'm going to go ahead and take my bracket. I'm going to mock everything up on this junk engine I got. So let me get back to it. Here's my compressor bracket with a fresh coat of paint. Sort of, except for that little spot I missed. Alright, when I went to go get bolts, I had a little snafu. They didn't have any bolts with the right thread pitch. So, luckily I had a good friend of mine. He made a very good comment. He was like, well, get a bolt quite a bit longer, cut it off and rethread it. So, that's what I did. So, anyways, the first bolt is, like I said, if this was fully assembled, you would have the bracket for the tensioner for the power steering pump in this hole right here. All you do is you take that bolt out, put the bolt through that top one. You're going to have this small spacer right here, and this bolt, I'm not going to tighten it up all the way because there'll be a 1/4 inch gap or so when this gets put in. That gap won't be there when I put it on the truck with the power steering pump adjuster. Alright, and you'll notice the edge of this pulley is going to be even with the edge of that crank pulley. Now the next piece you're going to do is the bolt that goes right here. You take it out, and this bolt is the exact same length and size of that bolt, and basically going to go through the bracket. You're going to put your tensioner pulley through on the back side of that, and then you're going to have this other spacer. Oop, I got to loosen that up a little bit. Alright, so this will be a little bit of a juggling act. I say a little bit. The best part about all this is you're going to get to see me struggle to actually put this on an engine that's installed in a truck. All right. I'm going to leave that a little bit loose. So all right, then the final bolt down here, it goes into a bolt that you have to remove out of the timing cover. And then you have your third aluminum spacer. Okay, and now I'm going to tighten everything up. All right, that looks good. Now I'm going to go ahead and throw the compressor on. All right, here is a much closer look. I still have to go get a belt for this, but basically your power steering pulley is up here, and the reason this one is here, I had to put this idler pulley, is because the power steering belt that rides in this groove right here, when it comes across the bottom and comes up here to go up to this pulley up here, it'll actually hit the front of this compressor clutch. So I can't move the compressor back at all. I'm kind of stuck with that. So what's going to happen is the power steering belt is, it comes around here, it's going to go up over top and around this pulley, and then come up here, go around the power steering pulley for the pump, and then it will come down around this pulley and down to here. So, and then how the air compressor is going to work is it rides on the middle groove in here, the middle pulley, and basically it'll actually come down, come underneath this tensioner, probably be somewhere right around there, and then it'll come up over here, over top, and then it will go underneath this pulley and then go back up around the crankshaft. So, and the neat thing about doing it that way, which I'll have a better, hopefully I'll get you a better picture when I have it assembled on the truck, is the power steering is going to be pulling this pulley this way, the air compressor belt is going to be pulling it that way. So you have what's called opposing force. So technically you don't have to have the bracketry as steady or as solid or rigid as it would be if they're both pulling the same direction. So I'll tell you one thing, I've never seen belts run like that, but in theory it works. And actually in reality it works because I have this system on my other truck. It's been up and running for 10 months or more. So, so it actually works. And the reason it works is because since both belts are driven by the same pulley that is the same size. Now you'll notice on how the rearmost pulley is for the alternator, and it's actually a larger diameter than the front two. So if the alternator is involved in this, it would not work. But since both of these belts are driven by the same size pulley, the linear speed of the belt is the same, where the speed of the compressor and the power steering, due to the driven pulleys, is they will change the speed of those components, but the linear speed of the belts are going to be the same. Once again, even though one belt's longer than the other, but linearly they're going the same speed. So it doesn't matter if one and they're both turning the same direction. So it doesn't matter if it comes on this one or goes off the other way. It'll all work. So I'll tell you what. But that's what it looks like. I'll give you one last look, and I got to take all this apart and get ready to put this on the truck. Alright, I had turned the camera off because it's just easier to work with it off because this is in a tight spot. Well, I ended up having to take the fan off, but I got the idler pulley bracket and the idler pulley in, and I also got the adjustment bracket for the air compressor. So here it is. Alright, as I said, I had to take the fan off in order to get that one bolt in, but I got the two bolts, and then I got the tensioner bracket for the air compressor. So all that stuff is installed. So now a neat thing about this particular setup that I came up with is the power steering belt that I took off will actually work for the air compressor. So I think that's pretty neat, because if anything goes wrong with this system, all you got to do is take the compressor out, and you can put this belt right back on the power steering, and you're good to go. So, but what you will need is that belt right there. Like I said, you will need this belt. I'll put a note in the comments about the belt you need, and this is for the new power steering belt, just because it's going to go around that new idler that I added. So now, but the trick, unfortunately, this compressor is pretty tight when it goes in. So basically, I have to put the air compressor belt and hang it on the crank pulley first. Then I actually have to install the power steering belt, tension it, and then I can put the air compressor in and then bolt it down and then tension the belt up. So I tell you what, let me get to it. All right. Well, I got the fan back on. I got the power steering pump tensioned up. As you can see, the bottom edge of that belt is riding on the back side of that pulley, and the air compressor belt is going to ride somewhere in here. So tell you what, now I got to shoehorn that compressor in here, get the belt in, tension in up, and see what else is in the way. So let me get to it. All right, got the compressor all bolted up. So now I got to do is run the belt. And I can already tell the belt's going to interfere with my automatic transmission cooler lines, because my other truck is a manual transmission, so it didn't have those. So I'm going to go ahead and get the belt on, and going to see what I have to do to clear those transmission lines. And also another thing I'll point out, I did have to notch out the motor mount a little bit right there for some clearance. I had to notch out right down in there, but I've actually been driving the truck around a little bit with the bracket on, even though the compressor wasn't there, and clearancing it worked just fine. So so let me go ahead and get this belt on. All right, a couple of strategic zip ties, and everything is held out of the way. Now keep in mind that my power steering hoses and my automatic transmission cooler lines, all of that stuff will get changed, because that's a whole nother part of the build. I'm not there yet. So when I get to that point, all that stuff is going to get cleaned up, rerouted, and everything's going to be done very differently. So once again, certain things are done right now just so the truck can run. So here's a final look at it before I do the first startup. There, it's a little hard to see it, but you can see the compressor right down there, the air compressor right below the power steering pump. And there's the idler bracket tucked in there. And then coming through the wheeler well, there's the York AC converted to air compressor. Everything's fitting fine. So let's fire it up and see what it looks like. All right, that first startup was a disaster. That compressor was making noise. Turns out the bearing was bad, in addition to the pulley was bent here. And also, and the one thing you probably can't tell in the video is from that first startup to right now, it's been about a month. I've had a lot of other stuff going on, so Inferno went on the back burner, and so I had to get another compressor. So anyways, here, I'm going to show you what happened. All right, here is the compressor that was in there. and hopefully you can see it. The pulley is actually wobbling back and forth, and the bearing sounds like garbage. So anyways, what happened, I've had this compressor, I bought it brand new, but it's sitting in my shop for a couple of years, and I think it probably took a tumble a couple of times. Is how the pulley got bent and the bearing went bad. So I went ahead and got a replacement. Bearing's good, pulley's turning nice and straight. I've already done the modification so this thing doesn't dump oil, so that was ready to go in. So and the reason I bought a new compressor is because the cost of the pulley, bearing, new clutch assembly was about as much as a new compressor was. So I just got a new compressor, but don't worry, I still have plans for this one. I've got another vehicle I think I'll put it on, which I have to convert it to a V pulley, which I have some good V pulleys lying around. So that is coming for this one. So so don't you worry. Well, tell you what, let me go ahead and get this new compressor in. All right, I did not bore you with putting the second compressor in. You have already seen me struggle with it, putting the first one in. But there you have it. It's a little hard to see, but it's in there. Well, it's in there. So now I'm going to do a second start, and I'm going to do that with you right now. And let's see if this sounds a little better. All right, as you may have just noticed, second start didn't go very well. I thought I had a bad idler pulley, so I changed it with the one off my other truck. Still didn't fix it. And then the belt came apart. So ultimately I have a small alignment problem with the compressor. So I'm going to go back into the bracket and do a lot of measuring, and I'm going to bring you back when I have it figured out. So stay tuned, be right back. All right, third time's the charm on this York compressor on a Toyota 3.4. I probably had a couple of clips that were a little jumbled. I had a couple failures, two to be specific, and apparently the last failure I got, I think I had an alignment issue with the compressor, and for some odd reason the bracket I made on my other truck works beyond perfect, and I don't know why. And the only thing I'd like to assume or like to think is the issue is the actual bracket itself, because the one on Big Red is I had the pieces sent out to send, laser cut, weld them together perfect, where the ones on this truck I actually used my plasma table, which is nowhere near as precise, not by far. So anyways, the last attempt, the belt broke. Like I said, I think it was an alignment issue. So I'm going to go back to what is known works. So I'm going to build the bracket again. I got all my pieces from Send Cut Send. That's one of my favorite vendors to use for this sort of thing. And as you can see, these actually just snap together just like Legos without any massaging, which I had to trim the other ones on my plasma table a lot to get them to fit. But these just go together exactly how it's supposed to fit. So anyways, so that's where I'm at with this. So I'm going to weld this together, see if my alignment issue goes away, and if it does, hopefully it'll work this time. So tell you what, let me get back to work and see what I can do. Well, it is safe to say that the parts from Send Cut Send fit way better than the stuff I cut out on my plasma table. This was like straight out of the box, tab into slot, done. So hopefully this should take care of my issue. So lesson learned. Let me get this welded up and get it in the truck and see if it fixes it. All right, I finally got everything all sorted out. I had more problems than I really want to admit to, but I got it all situated as you saw in the last clip. She's running pretty good. No clicking, clacking. I didn't shred the belt. Everything sounds good. So, and although the bracket did fit, apparently there is a difference between this block and the one in my other truck. They're both 3.4s. I don't know if there's a difference in years, something like that, but there's a difference that I did not catch on to, because what I had to do is the mounting bolts that bolt the bracket to the block of the engine, I had to put washers, two washers under each bolt, so I could actually lay the compressor down a little bit. I had to do that, and the four mounting holes for the compressor, I actually slotted them, oval shaped them, so I could shift the compressor 1/8 of an inch farther forward, and that was the last little bit I needed to fix my belt alignment issue. So it's running true. It's getting full contact on the idler pulley. It's completely on the idler pulley, so it's all working the way it's supposed to. I had a few more speed bumps than I really wanted to, but it's in and it's working. So this is looking great. Well, this is going to wrap this video up. I had a lot more difficulties than I was planning on. Unfortunately, I made a bracket once already. That one still works phenomenal on that truck. I don't know what difference I had, whether it was in the compressor, the clutch, the block itself. Something wasn't right, which, I mean, I had a pretty bad alignment issue, as you noticed in this video. And but ultimately I got the combination that worked. So, but now, if you'd like to try to do this to your own truck, and unfortunately, this is a very small application that this bracket will work on, because if you have a 3rd gen 4Runner with a 3.4 or a 1st generation Tacoma with a 3.4, this bracket will not work for you. It just won't fit past the frame rail. It's not going to work. You have to have a 3.4 swapped into an older Toyota, whether it's a 2nd gen, 3rd gen pickup. That's just what this bracket fits, and that's what it fits because this is what I own. So I was actually getting very close to building a bracket for a 3rd gen 4Runner. Unfortunately, life changed. I ended up selling my 4Runner for a profit, so it went away. So now I don't have it anymore. I don't have a need to develop that. So, but anyways, but if you'd like to try this with your own truck, please email me at creatingstuffwithjim@gmail.com. I will have that email address in the description. And then also, and if you do want to do this to your own truck, please understand it's not going to be, like I said, you might have some issues, some alignment issues you might have to work out. So the bracket might have to get modified. I can't guarantee it's going to fit every truck. So, but the other side of it is, if you want a belt-driven air compressor on your Toyota truck with a 3.4, this is the ticket. This will work. And unfortunately, you can't run a belt-driven AC compressor, but I have a solution for that. And you're going to have to follow on the future Inferno builds to see what I do to actually put air conditioning in this truck. And then the other side of it is, if you want to see how I build the rest of the air system, because you have to have a lead line, a wet tank. Well, that's a fancy term for you truck drivers, commercial vehicles, but you need an air line, air tank, pressure switch, wiring. Unfortunately, if you want to see how that's done, you got to come back to one of my Inferno builds. You have to come back to the Inferno build series. So, but just to bring this video to an end, if you like the video and you're not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. I'll take all the views I can get. I'd really like to grow the popularity on this channel if I can. But ultimately, in the end, the biggest thing I'm doing it for is you. I would like to inspire your creativity and help you achieve more than what you think you can do. So, but until then, I will see you on the next one, and be creative.